but there were Supreme Court's opinions on fundamental rights related to religion, private Hajj, taxation, Article 27.
Okay. So at this point of time, I think after all these DNA classes, you should be able to read newspapers in the way you are supposed to read, right? Do you think that you are on that path? You are not missing anything? Few things. Okay. Analysis wise, you're not missing much.
No.
Okay. All right. So we'll start with editorial section. Ukraine and anatomy of India's neutrality. So, Umang, what is the analysis in this particular article? What is the major? You haven't read? You? No. Why? You assumed that you know what he is going to say. Then? That is the underlying. That is what I said, right? You thought you know everything that there is to know regarding neutrality. So let me ask you a few questions. So why should India say it as a strategic autonomy rather than non-allied movement? The other day you told me, right? You are unable to recollect something. That is exactly the same attitude why you are not able to recollect. Because the moment you read some chapter, you think you know. The next time your brain is not getting a regular refresh of that particular topic. The advantage of reading newspapers is it's not like that he's going to say something new. He's going to say the same thing in new words. Is your brain able to recollect all that stuff? Okay. Again, I don't want to entertain that line of thought. The simple test is both of you can take a white paper and try to write whatever he said, and I can guarantedly tell you, you won't be able to tell half of the points that he has said. Guaranteed. I'm not even assuming. I know for a fact that you cannot reproduce half the points he said. Why? When we read something, we assume. See, Stanley John, C. Raja Mohan, Suhasini Haidar, these people spend their life in IR. Okay. When such a person is coming and summarizing things for you, it is like a tour of enter India's strategic autonomy. Hundreds of times when you see that particular topic, it will be deeply ingrained in you. That is when your answers will come out believing that yes, strategic autonomy is working for us. Or else you will always have that doubt whether strategic autonomy is working in India's favor or not. Again, this is hard to explain now. Why? It is something which is very useful for mains. So you'll struggle there, right? Unable to write 10 points. That day you will think, Sir's little outburst is 100% justified. Again, as you said, you'll clear and show me. So I will wait for that day. Okay. Yeah. So the major theme is why are we not calling it as non-allied movement and call it as a strategic autonomy? So Stanley John is very clearly mentioning Nehru's axiom continues to guide New Delhi's approach to conflict, especially those involving partners. So two questions. If not partners, what is our stand? If partners, then what is our stand? Any case studies? So let me reframe this question. Even simple. I will make it even simple for you. If in the place of Russia, America was doing the attack, let's say on Afghanistan or Taiwan, okay, what will be your thought process? Do you think we would still maintain strategic autonomy?
So one thing, Afghanistan is our neighborhood. So definitely the stand would have been different. So if anything, if there is an adverse impact in our neighborhood, it directly affects us. So if it directly affects us, Indians, so if we talk it from the strategic autonomy perspective, then we will do whatever that is good for us. If something negatively, something I mean, if there is an adverse because of attacks, if there is adverse impact in our neighborhood, and if it affects us badly, then we will definitely condemn it. We will definitely, maybe at least, if not condemn, maybe we might have proactively negotiated with US to stop the war immediately if it is Afghanistan or if it is a neighborhood. So,
will they listen?
Sir,
Will they listen?
will they listen or
if we have the final say whether they should go for the war or not?
no, sir? Will they listen or not? That I cannot say. But the efforts to stop the violence at least would have happened. Better efforts than Ukraine.
Would have been invested than in Ukraine.
Yes, if it was our neighbor, if it was some Yemen or Syria, then just one or two statements. Human rights must be respected.
So right now, what we are doing in Ukraine, we would do the same things.
I think even Ukraine is little better proactive
in comparison to Yemen and Syria.
Yes.
Is it right or wrong?
It is actually wrong, sir. Practically speaking, human rights violation is same everywhere. We should not differentiate between Yemen, Syria, or Ukraine or Afghanistan. But that only survival matters in IR as we discussed. So depends on the degree to which our survival is affected, our response comes.
Okay. So he also makes a point in this article where he says West is no saint.
Yes.
West has its own issues, or West have blood on its own hands. So West is nowhere in a position to preach lessons to India, to the rest of the world. What should be India's learning from that? So two wrongs make it a right. Because West have its own issues. If India is abstaining, are we justifying that?
I didn't get the question.
In the sense, if West is having its own vested interest and West is pushing us, okay, we have our own vested interest with Russia, so everybody is playing with their own vested interest, so it's totally justified. Strategic autonomy for USA is okay. So USA is doing what is best for USA or European countries in the name of NATO. Russia is doing what is good for Russia by attacking Ukraine. India is abstaining what is good for India. So in the name of strategic autonomy, everybody is doing good for what is good for them. So that is the root cause of the crisis, right? Why do you think America wanted Ukraine to join NATO?
Yes, sir.
So that America will protect Ukraine or Russia's expansion can be stopped. It's an ideological thought process. Okay, why did Russia attack Ukraine or liberate those two regions in Ukraine?
పాలు నచ్చలే మరి
Yes. Do you see that in that way? Strategic autonomy is the root cause of all the problems.
I think there is a limit for strategic autonomy too, sir.
Then you are contradicting your own statement.
It's not contradiction.
Why? Why, Pratyusha? Why is it not a contradiction? Umang? So from tomorrow onwards, I'm not going to take DNA class for a fact. Okay. So just keep that much in mind. And coming to this particular article, Border Gavaskar Trophy. So this article is more about India, Australia having a advancement in their relation through India-Australia economic cooperation. Okay. So what is meant by cooperation? So normally when we say Australia, we talk about bilateral discussions. We talk about RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic. Okay. So that's a major takeaway. Let's wait for that particular editorial. Editorials will make more sense. Okay. And before that, there are certain articles. Criminal procedure bill will create a foolproof system. So I don't know whether this article is in Hyderabad edition or not. Okay, it's not there. So by the time prelims will be there, maybe the chances are it will become an act. Okay, so criminal procedure bill. What are the major things from mains perspective? The first one is the reforms in criminal justice system. As I told, there are stakeholders. One is the citizen, then the executive, and the last one is citizen, executive, and
Legislature.
the government also, technically speaking. Okay, if I'm an executive, if such a bill is passed, I'm very happy. As a police officer, I'm very happy in this country if such act is there. Why? I can collect a lot of details. So if you see the technicalities, say for example, they want to get as much data as possible, even the measurements regarding the criminals. Okay, physical measures of the convicts and other persons, records will be stored for 75 years. So why physical measurements? So let's say you have committed a crime, so they have a chance of using algorithms to profile whether that particular person was in that vicinity, 6 feet, this height, this weight, probably such a person is in that vicinity. In the CCTV camera, you may be vaguely captured. Okay, but that will help the police officers to narrow down the number of suspects. So if I have all the criminals and their profiles and their data, DNA, iris, everything. So next time if he is supposed to commit a crime, he will not escape. Why? One or the other detail might help the police officers to capture him. So that is a treasure for police officers. Okay, so that is one important thing we have to understand. Right, and then you can always claim that it's a foolproof mechanism. We don't know until we test it whether it's really foolproof mechanism. Who will have the access to that data? Whether will you maintain any registry, right? And on mere suspicion, will you be free to arrest someone? Let's say the algorithm says 80% match in the CCTV camera. Your face is covered, or that particular individual's face is covered. So according to this particular database, the algorithm might say there is an 85% chance that he is the culprit. Okay, based on its own data. That 85%, is it good enough for us to take the next step? Okay, we are going to probably convict someone for 3 years or 4 years, and the crime he may or may not have committed. So that is a problematic scenario. But in reality, what might happen is at least it might help the police officers to narrow down the list of suspects. Then they might do the ground level work. They might find an evidence which might prove that you are actually somewhere else at the same time. So you are not the suspect. So it might work sometimes in the favor of the criminals. It might sometimes work against the innocent persons also. So all these things only will be tested only when we have empirical data. Right now, nobody can criticize the act based purely on perceptions, but privacy is a nightmarish scenario. Okay.
That AI is biased. Biased AI. The data which was fed into that system was biased. Then taking real time decisions based on that biased AI.
Okay.
Would it be ethical?
Again, we don't know, right? See, this is all pure assumption that they might use it. We don't know whether they are allowed to use it in that lines.
So, but practically speaking, it will become a law.
Exactly.
If they're going to use it, then
all they are saying is we are digitizing the records. Okay, so we are digitizing the records. If you have done some crime earlier, probability is that I will find you. It will act as a deterrent to the criminals that my database is already in the system. So even if I make a simple silly mistake like leaving fingerprints or blood sample or something, then you are caught. Okay, so this may not be for the Hollywood criminals we see in the movies or TV shows, those who have a huge amount of budget, but most of the times criminals are not so equipped to fool the system. So definitely, even if they wear monkey cap and all those things, their iris will be visible probably in a CCTV camera, and so on and so forth, or other things. They might leave fingerprints. So in that way, for petty criminals, I think this will be a nightmarish scenario. Okay. Yes. So this is not something new. We have seen this multiple times. So not technically useful for UPSC, but generally the idea is rotation of democracy, giving new entrants some opportunity. So every 2.5 years, the cabinet of Andhra Pradesh state will be revamped. So new MLAs will be given a chance to become member of assemblies, ministers, portfolios will be given to them. So this might bring some change to the administrative system. Okay. Yes. Instead of this, they can also throw some weightage to women also. Yes. So that can be one innovative solution if they want to. Or you can also argue that continued break in the administration will break the flow of the system. Yes, if a minister is there for 5 years, he have started a new scheme or new program recently. For two years, he persuaded it. The next minister may not have the same amount of interest on the same project. Let's say minister wanted to promote libraries, education minister. So next minister might be more interested in promoting digital education. So the library project might go backwards. Okay, so there are some practicalities with such thought process also. So that is one learning we can think of.
So they could get favoritism as well as corruption.
It is actually promoting favoritism, right? Why? You are an MLA, you are not given the opportunity in the MPC, so you had defection, or you are bringing some anti-party activities. What will you do? I will say in the 2.5 years down the line, see, out of 100 MLAs, only 50 MLAs will be more powerful. Out of the 150 MLAs, 150 out of 150, 50 will be powerful. So I have took the top 25 first. Then I will give the next 25 the chance. So I'm actually promoting favoritism, right? You keep your defection aside and wait for 2 years. You will be rewarded. Normally, what will happen? You have to wait for 5 years. So you kill the defection with one stroke. It might actually promote corruption if you think about it. Again, I'm saying I gave so much amount of money to become a MLA. Election is a costly affair. Then what happens? I have to make that money. And having a minister portfolio is one sure shot way to get things done. So I waited. So that is when I become a minister for 5 years, I will do decent amount of corruption so that I have huge amount of time. In 2 years, I have to amass as quickly as possible. So that is also one line of thought.
Question, previous question. Does the size of the cabinet or size of the affect the governance?
Does it? See, they created MLCs for the same reason, right? If you are angry here, you didn't get the MLA seat in the first place. Go to legislative councils. If you got MLA, you're not happy. I will make you minister one day. And it's like in cricket match, right? Every time a new batsman comes into the picture, he will take some amount of time for settling down. So a new minister again have to spend some amount of time to understand what is happening, what his predecessor have done, so on and so forth. So that is what I felt on this particular.
So, but then what was the answer for that question? So,
Size of the cabinet.
size of the cabinet affects the governance. How does that affect the governance?
It depends on the leadership style, right? For example, what I mean to say is, let's say you are overly centralized leadership. That means only PM or CM will have all the power. The rest of the ministers are only dummies. Then having less number of cabinet members with more portfolios will still be the same. Okay, right? So again, we are in theory a representative democracy, yes, with ministries and portfolios, but in reality, actually things get done by the coterie, the top chief minister, prime minister are his closest cabinet members. Those 10 people will be the deciders. Rest are there. What is the name of agriculture minister in the country?
Narendra Singh Tomar.
How many of you know apart from him?
I don't know.
Why? Farmers bill happened. We never see again. We don't hear, right? There is no value addition from his side. When farmers bill, 1 year of farmer bills agitation, agricultural issues, there are tons and tons of things. But honestly, 99.9% of Indians don't know that agriculture minister is not a prominent face. Okay. So did he actually decide the farmers bill? Was he the key role or the key architect of farmers bill? Was his interest behind that? Did he decide to withdraw them? Or was it done in the name of party or nation's interest? In theory, we are a representative democracy.
Recently, there was a report which called India's electoral autocracy.
Electoral autocracy. But we will not use that term in the exam because we are still a participative democracy. It's the people who deserve this, not the system. You choose such a leader, you deserve to have such a leader. You both deserve each other. Chinese hacker group continue to target power plants, government. Okay, so these are all called as critical infrastructures.
Yes.
Yes, critical infrastructure. So what is the apex body for critical infrastructures? Cyber crimes. What is the counter we have for critical infrastructure? What is the apex body for cyber crimes in the country? To counter. What is CERT, Umang? CERT. You have heard about CERT? Yes, good. What is it?
CERT-IN, CERT-IN.
Certain, okay. But CERT is a core. What is CERT? Patricia? Unable to recollect.
It's under Ministry of MEITY. Rajiv Chandrasekhar.
What he won't save you, right? Yes, if you see the Sherlock Holmes series, he says something. I don't remember the name of all the 9 planets. It's a useless data. It's a waste of storage in my brain. In your case, what is the full form of CERT is more useful than MP from Kerala, who also is a co-owner of Republic TV. Yes, all this useless data, what will you do? Computer, emergency,
response.
Team, cyber, it's not cyber, computer emergency response team. And there is also NCPII, National Critical Infrastructure Plan. So they are the bodies which will fight this critical infrastructure. First of all, what all comes under critical infrastructure is a basic thing that you need to remember. Let's guess what all comes under critical infrastructure in relation to cyber attacks.
Nuclear power plants.
Telephone towers.
Telephone towers.
I think all energy related things. Next, communication networks.
Telecom sectors are different. Same, right? Telecom towers.
They're just one part of.
Okay, communication networks as a whole. Okay,
Yes.
fine.
Electronic gadgets that are held by
Individuals.
by the government. So
Electronic gadgets.
Be it the super fast computers or
Okay. Then I don't think so. Financial institutions, nuclear power plants, shipping, ports, seaports, transportation roads, banking, fintech companies, anything that will affect the day-to-day life of average Indian in macro sense are called as critical infrastructure. In this case also, what they are targeting is SLDCs. State load dispatch centers. So what are dispatch centers? See, when you read about renewable energies, people will always argue that coal is one of the most important energy sources. Why? Coal have a power called as peak load capacity. That means at evening 7 p.m. in summer, everybody wants to switch on their ACs. I suddenly need more power, right? Or in winter, I need more electricity. So because of heaters, yes or no? So peak load, that means after a particular time, the demand for electricity will go very high. That can be only substituted by, that can only be compensated by coal. No other energy can at this point of time have that capacity. So that is why coal is an important factor. So what do dispatch centers do? They dispatch, as the name says, they regulate the power. They regulate the flow of the the load. South zone is having more demand, north zone is not having demand, eastern zone is working balancedly. So these are smart grids that we have in the country. One nation, one grid, right? Okay. So electricity will be smartly distributed at various zones. Okay. If a hacker gets access to such kind of dispatch center, then what will happen? He might block the distribution. That might lead to huge amount of blackouts. Okay. So in today's world, where everything is dependent on electricity, a blackout means hundreds of crores of losses to states. Yes or no? A city like Mumbai not having power for 3 to 4 hours will be facing huge amount of loss. Then your banking activities will be hampered, productive activities will be hampered, health and education sector will be severely affected, right? Like this, so many things will be there. One simple example is okay. So these are the things that you have to connect the dots. That means it is, say, power load is one thing. Now 1 day, 2 days you don't have power because of some hack attacks, then that will severely be a problem for the country, right? So that is why we have to be proactively working on CERT or other mechanisms. And the report is openly saying they are Chinese hacker groups. That means state supported hacker groups. Hacker groups are private, but they're having the pattern in the name of Chinese government. So this can also be applied in hybrid war. What we are having is hybrid wars. It's not conventional warfare, it's a hybrid war where PR, weapons, and other forms of attacks, everything will be used. For example, Ukraine also we see the same thing. Cyber attacks, deep fakes are used in Ukraine, right? In Russia, to create a negative propaganda against the others. In West also they are promoting Putin in the very bad light. So PR management, conventional weapons, unconventional weapons, self-destructing drones, a lot of things are being used. So hybrid wars are the new warfare. Okay. Not at all useful for UPSC, but persuasion, determination will always have its own rewards. Okay. So if I, let's say, if I bring 2,000 rupees or more, let's say he brought 89,000 rupees worth of coins to buy a bike, can the shop refuse it? Right?
Legal tender.
Sure.
yes, sir, but there is also a restriction on the usage of coin also.
What is the restriction? If someone brings you 1 lakh rupee to coins, 1 rupee coins, 2 rupee coins, are
You
you,
can refuse it, sir.
you can refuse it?
Yes, sir.
In what amount? National Coin Act 2000 says it's 2000 rupees. So till 2000 rupees, you are forced, you are by legal standards supposed to take coins. If I give 2001 rupee coins, any shop in India has to accept it. Beyond 2000, if I have to purchase something, the shop has a right to refuse it. Okay. Nobody knows. That is that is why such articles make it to the newspaper. If they know that, they wouldn't have encouraged it, right? What is it? What are the various taxes that are imposed on petrol? The expected prelims question.
Excise duty. Excise duty.
Central or state? Is there a state excise duty?
Yes, sir, it is there. Excise duty, VAT, and surcharge.
No cess.
Right now, it is not this, but cess can be imposed.
Okay. So what are the various taxes? What is the final price you see in the petrol bunk? 115 rupees or 116 rupees. So how is it distributed?
Central excise duty, state excise duty, VAT, surcharge.
Which one is higher, state or central excise?
State excise duty is higher, sir. It varies with respect
State
to
to
state.
state.
Usually in Andhra and Telangana, state is higher. And surcharge, these days, surcharge has exponentially increased.
Okay. Surcharge is also excess, which only goes to central pool.
Surcharge only goes to central pool, sir. It is indivisible pool.
Okay. Who decides petrol prices?
Market forces, demand supply.
In India also?
Achha, oil marketing companies.
Oil marketing companies. Okay. What are the 4 strategic reserves, Kumar? How many days do we have strategic reserves for? Strategic reserves in India. Where do we have the strategic reserves in India? Try to think, you know the answer. Politisha?
Strategic reserves are like save a lot of buffer
Hmm.
in the rock caves like equipment.
Where are we storing them? How many are there in total? 4. Okay. What are they? No, I don't remember. Okay. Guess why roughly, like how many days of strategic reserves do we have?
I think it's 3 or 4
Days.
days.
Mangalore, Padur, Visakhapatnam, Chandikol. Yes. So we have 9 days of strategic reserves. Then the stage 2, which is again in Padur and Chandikol, I think strategic reserves 2. It will add 12 more days. So total it will be 21 days of strategic reserves in India if we implement the strategic reserves in letter and spirit. Is India a member of International Energy Agency?
And that's not a member.
India is not a member of IEA. What is the eligibility to become a member of IEA? Is India a member of OECD? No. What is the criteria required for being a member of OECD?
Should be one of the topmost exporters of oil. So
Mhm.
that
Recently, India was asked to become a permanent member of IEA, and to become member of IEA, one of the criteria is to be a member of OECD. Only when you become a member of OECD, you can become member of IEA. And recently, India was asked to become member of IEA. So then, how did India become a member of IEA?
As an observer.
Since 2007, we are an observer. One of the requirements is to become to have 90 days of strategic reserves.
90.
We should have 90 days of strategic reserves to become OECD member. Then we'll become member of IEA. There are a lot of interlinkage. As I said, we have zero clue on what is the larger picture. Yes. Next, double taxation avoidance agreement. Come on, heard about it? Double taxation avoidance agreement. Economy. What you are doing right now is economy, I guess. When did you hear it? Do we have DTAS with other countries?
yes, sir.
Example
Mauritius.
and one more example. What do DTAS do? Oh, let's say you said Mauritius, India and Mauritius have double taxation avoidance agreement, right? Then
If a Mauritius guy is present in India and he is making profits in India, he's not responsible to pay profits in India as well as Mauritius. So if India and Mauritius has the double taxation agreement, so according to that, they will be liable to pay tax in only one state, and it is a concern because the people are taking advantage of this agreement to show their profits and be taxed less in the country which is charging less. So this is a point of concern, and this is recently in news because of global minimum taxation also. So even if we so under the double taxation agreement, one is liable to pay only less. Even then, he is supposed to pay the difference between the global minimum tax and the tax which is being charged.
okay, so which one is more progressive?
DTA or global minimum tax? Global minimum tax is more progressive, sir.
Global minimum tax is more progressive.
Yes, sir. Because it would avoid every country's race down to make it a tax haven.
Do you think it's an initiative by the West again, which we are blindly following?
I don't think so, sir. We are definitely not blindly following this because India has lost a great source of revenue from such kind of fraudulent.
That is why we did bring in this
DTA.
equalization levy.
Yes, sir. It is also provision that if the global minimum corporate tax comes into effect, then equalization levy should be chopped off.
Chopped off. Okay, fine. So what is the minimum amount that is required for you to pay this minimum? I mean, not every corporate company in India is under the minimum corporate tax, right?
Yes, sir. Like it's some turnover, 100 crore turnover, some mark is there.
MNCs, right? Not domestic companies also. It should be like companies with certain amount, certain million turnovers. Only then they come under global minimum corporation tax. So looking at companies which will favor America, aren't we losing our equalization? Okay. So if we give up, if we apply global minimum tax on certain companies, I think equalization levy should be waived off only on those companies, not every other company out there.
Yes.
So I think that is the agreement. So try to relook into that particular topic once again.
It is in the context of Vodafone case also. DTA.
Their base erosion profit shifting is also the major discussion. Last question. How many countries do we have 2+2 dialogue with? Five. Tell me.
US. It's US, Russia, Japan, Australia, Israel, then UAE.
UAE we have 2+2. Are you sure? Tomorrow tell me how many 2+2s are there. Okay. Yes, I won't be taking class, but I will be coming. I will sit here from 5 to 6. If you have anything to discuss, I will be available.
I wanted to confess something that we did not read this article because
I didn't ask, right? I won't ask. That is not my nature to ask why. I give you ultimate freedom. You want to become IAS, I will be available. You can take my help. You want to destroy your attempt, I will also be here. I will watch you destroying your attempt. I won't intervene. I believe in the power of natural law. Okay, we should not tweak things because we can, right? So if a earthworm is crossing the road, we should not intervene. It's its destiny to crawl that. If it is under the tire, that's its choice. If it crosses, then it's its great adventure. Okay, so unless it's really unavoidable, I don't intervene. I will come here to the classes from 5 to 6. I will sit in that chair. If you have that question, anything to discuss, I will be more than happy to answer. The same applies to online group also. I will on the Zoom. If you have any questions, you can talk to me or you can call me in person. Right. Any questions? No?
Border Gavaskar. Why did we come to conclusion that FTAs are not helping us? Why
It's empirically suggested by economic survey saying it did not work in India's favor. Whenever we went for free trade agreements with a group of countries, the trade was always in imbalance. 2017 economic survey, I guess. So then we started going for this bilateral. You can also use this in the context of saying India stopped believing in multilateral institutions, World Trade Organization, UN, RCEP is not multilateral. It's again regional grouping, right? We are talking about global institutions like WTO, IMF.
But India, which always follows, which always profess global order.
We still say the same thing, right? We want WTO to function. but we want WTO to be more
Favorable to the development.
everyone. WTO should work for everyone rather than for few countries. If WTO wants to reform in that sense, we are more than happy to support it. I think even the minimum global corporate tax will also work only in the favor of developed nations rather than developing nations. I think it's one more smokes and mirror thing rather than which will work in India's favor. Okay. Again, how many companies do we have to gain such huge amount of money?
So it will be mostly the top Meta, Google companies.
It is made only for those 4 or 5 companies, and most of them are US centric. Then
Google minimum corporation tax means minimum they have to pay that much.
hmm,
On their revenue, we are supposed to charge more if they are running something from India.
hmm.
How
But
is it then?
again, then that is where the creativity will come into the picture, right? They will showcase that whatever they are doing is in a particular place, and they might have a lot of subsidies. They might start saying that the expenditure is too high. Then they will bring the entire gross amount to, let's say, 500 crores. So let's say I made 1,000 crores. Okay, 15% on 1,000 crores. Then immediately what will they do? You are A company, B company, C company, and you are also running in India. To maintain your expenses, I am spending 300 crores, 300 crores, 300 crores. Are you really 300 crores worthy? No, but I'm just diverting that money to diffuse it. Then I'm paying tax on a select few percentages. See, as far as I know, it is not going to help us in such a huge fashion. Let's again, we don't have zero, or we don't have any kind of data at this point, right? It's only pure assumption. We'll see whether it works for India or not.